Now I'll explain the same thing with the help of a medical analogy. Okay. So let's say I walk up to a doctor, and the first thing doctor is going to ask me that, Simarpreet, what happened? So I define what I'm facing. I would say that, I'm not well, I'm having headache. Doctor asked me the questions. Since when you're facing this problem? What are the things that you are doing? What have you eaten? Where have you gone? Etc. Etc. Okay. And then in the measure phase, doctor is going to use certain equipments to measure. Probably use a thermometer, probably use a BP machine, probably use a stethoscope to see that what problem that I'm facing. Okay. Once he's contented, then he asks me to do certain tests, that either go for a viral test, either go for this test, etc., etc., so that he gets to the root cause. Similarly, in the analyze phase, we go for some statistical tests. Once those test reports are done, then in the improve, he gives certain medications, that take this medication, take this medicine, go for this medicine. Okay. Once I am perfectly all right, he says, Simarpreet, now you need to take certain rest. Now you cannot go to office straight away. You take rest for 1 week. Okay. And that's a control phase. So this is something defining the problem, measuring the problem, analyzing the problem, improving the outcome, and controlling the problem or controlling the outcome is what we do in Six Sigma. And that's why I was able to make you understand with the help of a medical analogy. Okay. I just see Rahul has asked a question on 4D. Is 4D still in place? Design, diagnose, design and deploy. Design is repeated here, Rahul.
Right. Okay.
Are you which methodology are you going to talk about? Is it something which is being used in
Right.
your organ?
Right, Simon. So when I did the project, I used the 4Ds, which was define,
Define,
diagnose,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
define, diagnose, design, and deploy, and not the DMAC.
Okay, okay. So just to answer to your question, Rahul, and everybody can refer to the chat because there are questions coming up, and you can also contribute and see that where I'm referring from. अभी I just talked about DMAC methodology, जहाँ मैंने आपको DMAIC बताया.
Right.
राहुल पूछ रहे हैं कि एक और मेथोडोलॉजी होती है जिसको बोलते हैं 4D, जो होता है define, diagnose, design and deploy. So there are plenty of methodologies available in the market, and every organization uses it up to their convenience and their ease. There is no harm in using any of the methodologies if you're working on a certain platform, but to go for the Six Sigma certifications, which is governed by all the organizations, either it's an ASQ, either it's ISI, either it's Henry Harvin, either it is TQMI, everybody focuses on the DMAC methodology. However,
Okay.
want to go for a Six Sigma certification, there is a prerequisite that we use these methodologies, but for an internal opportunity, for an internal improvement opportunity, you can use any of the methodologies which you want to go for, whether it's design, diagnose, design and deploy, so anything which you go for. But when it comes to certification, DMAC is a must.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is what I try to explain you Six Sigma with the help of medical analogy. Now there are 3 or 4 ways how we define Six Sigma. Okay. As we keep on talking about, most of you talked about in the expectation setting session also that I want to learn the problem solving methodology. So yes, it's a problem solving methodology. So there's an equation which I'm sure most of you are aware since you're GB trained, but just for the benefit of everybody, there's an equation where we focuses on which says y is equal to fx, okay, which means y is equal to function of x. I'll explain these variables in a very simple language to all of you. That what is the relevance of this when I talk about problem solving methodology or when I talk about Six Sigma. Let's understand first what is y. Y as an alphabet comes from that what is the problem that we are facing. So Y is basically an opportunity. Y is basically a problem on which we are working upon. Okay. So that's an opportunity. X is a factor or a cause which is impacting my Y. And F is a function of X. So there could be multiple X's also. So for example, if you're trying to improve uh, the productivity, so let's say you are trying to improve the productivity as a problem. So in your organization, there's a target been given that the productivity of employees very, very low, which is currently at 50%. So which says you've done some data crunching and you found there are only 50% productivity that I have, and now you're doing a project. So that is why productivity is why. And when you're doing a project, you identify certain causes, and which you identified certain factors, and those are called X's. Okay, so one is Y is a problem, and X are the causes. So now a question to all of you: is Y an independent, or is X an independent? So either Y or X, one is independent, another is dependent. What do you think? Which is independent and which is dependent?
So
Y
X,
is dependent on
X, yeah, X is independent,
Yeah.
Y is dependent on X.
Independent, right? Y is dependent on X.
So Y is dependent on X. Absolutely. Because if I work on any of the axes, let's say one of the axes, employee reaching late. Second X is process knowledge. Okay. So if I work on these axes, it will impact my Y. So Y is a dependent variable and X's are my independent variable. Because if I work on
Correct.
these axes in silos, it would not have impact on each other. It may or may not have impact on each other. So that's what we have to understand. So if I want to focus on my why, I have to identify those causes. So that's why Six Sigma is called as a problem solving methodology, where we're focusing on identifying those causes and working on them to improve the situation that I'm currently in. So that's why it is called a problem solving methodology. So we will talk about in detail to how to identify those causes, how to do that, etc., etc. But this is just an equation that just for the understanding purpose.
Okay. Okay. So Simar, just to understand it, right, get clarity. So Six Sigma, what it exactly means is probably what I just understood is we identify an opportunity or a scenario and then work on the sectors which are impacting it. And if we improve on those sectors, that can help improve the why for us. Is that correct?
Absolutely, bang on, bang on.
Okay.
So
okay.
yeah. So apart from that, there are many things that we do, but from an understanding perspective, very good question asked at a very good point in time. And just imagine whenever you resolve any problem, be it your personal problem, be it your daily household problem, or any official problem, unless we don't know the cause, we will not be able to resolve it. So it is very, very important to identify those factors which is impacting my problem. So that's what we talk about. Okay, so that is the first thing which is known as Six Sigma as a problem solving methodology. Let's move to the next piece. So this is something which we already talked about. Y is an output and X is an input. So this is something which we already talked about. Another definition of Six Sigma is Six Sigma as a metric. I want to ask a question from all of you. So just imagine you are the department head, or maybe you are a CEO of the organization, or maybe you are the CFO or COO of your organization. Okay, there are different processes or different functions that you look after, because if you are a CEO of the organization, which means all the departments under you, there is one department head which is reporting into you. So you're taking care of finance, you're taking care of the marketing department, you're taking care of the operations department, the HR and everybody, all the heads are reporting into you. And if I ask you a question, if Simarpreet asks you a question, then out of all these functions that you have, which function is performing the best? How would you answer that? And what would you say?
So the function which has less complaints may be one of the factor, maybe one of the parameter to be considered.
Yes,
Right.
sorry.
I would say that we do have some dashboards, right, wherein we have some key performance indicators to review.
Yeah,
And
something.
basis that we would be able to identify which sector or which department of mine is performing as per the benchmark or the agreed. as the benchmark, I would say. And then we can come to a conclusion which is performing better than the other.
Yeah, here, from my organization, the KPIs are different for different functions. So having a
Yeah.
common
Right.
KPIs are a little rare to see. What I see here is if they are set of standards, I would say one must be out of the closed cases or open cases, the numbers are more prevailing, which shows the particular function is doing good. Just an example. There are the more, but just one
Uh,
which, yeah.
what about others? I'm really liking this discussion. Seriously.
Okay. Right.
What about
So,
others?
what I feel, just as if I'm right, it was Ratna, right?
Yeah.
So just as she mentioned that we have different KPIs, so maybe we can just analyze the performance for a particular department, right? It would not be that what would possible to have common KPIs for different departments. So it's just that if we have a benchmark for a particular department and we see that they're able to meet that, that means they're doing good. And similarly, if the others are all, if there is some which are not able to meet it, so maybe this is how we'll be comparing it.